Good morning, Year 4. This is my hints and tips video for our maths lesson today, fractions greater than 1. So just as a very quick reminder, because we've had half term and we need to switch our maths brains on again, parts of a fraction called the numerator at the top and the denominator underneath. So the numerator tells you how many parts you have, and the denominator tells you how many parts are in the whole. So with my bar model, you can see that you've got 1 whole 1, which is the same as 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. Okay. Now, because I've left some of my other fraction models, bar models at school, I'm having to use these ones. So I don't have as many of these ones, but we'll still be able to use it to demonstrate our example. So we know that 1 whole is the same as 3/3. Okay, so if I add another third here, I would have 4, 1, 2, 3, 4/3, and if I wanted to have the same amount in the bar above, I would have to have another third to my whole. Okay. So 4/3 is the same as 1 whole and 1/3, and there we can see the 1 whole and 1/3. Okay. There is a mathematical method that we can use to work out our fractions that are greater than 1 by understanding that fractions are actually just division. Okay, so I could also work this out by dividing the amount I have, which is 4, by the amount in the whole. So 4 divided by 3. Okay, so how many groups of 3 can I make if I've got 4? Well, I hope most of you would know that that would be 1, and we would have a remainder of 1. But this time we're going to write our remainder as a fraction of the whole. So I've got 1 left over. I've got my remainder 1 out of the whole, which is 3. Okay, so let's do another one. So here are my 1, 2, 3, 4/3 that we had before, and here is my whole 1 and 1/3. So I'm going to add another third to each bar. So we can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/3 is the same as 1 whole 1 and 2/3, and I can use division to help me prove it as well. Okay, so I divide the number I have, which is the numerator. The numerator tells you the number you have, by the number in the whole. Okay, so 5 divided into groups of 3. How many groups of 3 are there in 5? well, there would be 1, remainder 2, but as we have to write our remainder, we're going to write it as a fraction of the whole. So we have 2/3 left. Okay. So staying with thirds for the moment, I've written a splat box of the multiples of 3. Okay, and I've got this improper fraction, 16/3, and it's improper because the numerator is greater than the denominator, and I want to change this fraction into mixed numbers, so it's going to show how many wholes there are and any fraction left over, any fraction remaining. So what I'm doing is dividing the number of parts I have, which is 16, by the amount in a whole, which is 3. So I'm doing 16 divided by 3. So I come down my splat box. How many 3's are there in 16? And I'm looking for my amount, my multiple of 3 that is closest but less than 16. So that's 5 3's are 15. So I can have 5. And the amount I was dividing with 1 remaining, and that 1 remaining this time we're going to write as a fraction of the whole. Okay, alright, so we'll do another one. So here we have 28/3, and we can work out how many wholes and what fraction left over by taking the amount you have and dividing it by the amount in a whole. Okay, so I'm still dealing in my multiples of 3. So we're looking for the amount that is closest but less than 28. So that would be 27. And that is 9 wholes. And how many left over? Well, 28 is 1 more than 27, so I'm going to write what is left over as a fraction. So 9 whole ones and 1/3. So I've changed my denominator now so that my whole is in fifths. Okay, so if I wanted to work out my equivalent mixed number, how many whole ones I could make, I would need to do 15, because that's the amount I have, divided into by the whole, which is groups of 5, because we're in fifths, and 15 divided by 5. I've done my splat box for my 5's, and that's 1, 2, 3 whole groups of 5. Okay. And the last one we're just going to have a look at is 42/5. So how many whole groups of fifths would you be able to make out of 42? So we need to divide the number of fifths we have, which is 42, by the number that are in a whole one, which is 5. Okay, so we're in fifths. Alright, so we're looking for, and down our multiples of 5. Okay, and our number that is closest to 42 but less is 40. And I know that's 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8. 8 groups of 5, how many would be left over? So 8 groups of 5 is 40, and the amount we have is 42, so there are 2 left over, and I'm going to write that as a fraction out of 5. So 8 and 2/5. So here is the sheet, okay, and what the sheet does is actually go back in one step. So you should be able to complete these ones quite easily. For question 2, complete the number sentences. 5/3 would be the same as how many wholes and how many thirds. Okay, so we would just be looking at 1, 2, 3 being 1 whole, and then you would have this third and this third as well. Okay, so 3/3 in a whole, and then you've got this one and this one. So what they're looking for is for you to write 1 whole plus 2/3, which would be the same as 1 whole and 2/3. Okay, so you can work your way down the sheet there, and then here's where we're going to start to think about what these fractions actually mean. So the number of parts you have would be 12, and you would divide it by 2. Okay, complete the statements. Okay, 12 halves would give you how many wholes? So that would be 6. For this one, I'm going to do 12 divided by 4. So that would give me how many wholes? Okay, so you can work your way down. You might need your splat boxes. If you do, it's fine. Just write them on the page. Okay. So this question says, Whitney bakes 26 muffins. Muffins are packed in boxes of 4. How many boxes can Whitney fill? So I've written it a representation as a fraction, and I know that this actually means 26, which is the number of muffins, divided by 4, because you can fit 4 muffins in a box. Okay, and from there you can do your splat box and work out how many wholes, alright, and write the remainder of the muffins as a fraction, because 26 is not a multiple of 4. Okay, and then you'll be able to answer Whitney can fill how many boxes, alright, and you can work your way through the rest of the question. Okay, and question 5, write less than, greater than, or the same as to complete the statements. 2 wholes and 3/4 are something than 5/4. So what you need to think about is what 2 wholes and 3/4 is the same as if it was written in quarters. So each of these whole ones is made up of 4/4. So what we would in fact do is think 2 times 4, because each whole one has 4/4, and then add the 3 that we've got there. So lastly, we can see that it would 2 3/4 is the same as 11/4, which is much larger than 5/4. So work hard, have fun, and see how you get on.